Hello and welcome to First Friday Lunch, technically second Friday lunch. And the reason that we didn't have First Friday lunch on the first Friday was because I was sick. You can probably still hear it in my voice. I've noticed that cough seems to linger. See? And of course, because I wanted to talk, then it's going to be agitated. That seems to be the thing. Like if I breathe heavy or if I talk too much, then I seem to agitate this voice. So, um, once again, welcome to First Friday Lunch, wherever you are in the world. And there we go. There we go. My thing wasn't working there for a minute. I actually didn't promo this at all because I was late putting it up last week. And so a lot of you will probably watch this on the recording that will be out on YouTube and everywhere else in the world. So, so First Friday Lunch, we're going to talk about today leveling up, but I'm going to change the format up a little bit. And we're going to also talk about some stuff that's going on personally and then also writing wise, what's going on. So personally, obviously, excuse me, I had a cold. And so I missed our first Friday lunch. And now we're having second Friday lunch. Hoping to get a lot of spring. Spring has finally sprung here. Ironically, though, so my husband went to Africa yesterday, which was the other reason I postponed everything until today, because I knew I'd have more time to do stuff. Ironically, spring has sprung while he is gone. And we're due for a cold spell when he comes back. It's going to drop into like the 40s or something. So I don't know what's going on with the weather. It's weird this year, isn't it? Let me know if it was weird where you were. Like if you had a weird winter. We had an unseasonably unsnowy winter, and not super cold. Normally we have kind of this deep freeze moment where it goes sub-zero in January, and that just did not happen this year. I'm a little worried the mosquitoes might come back. It's horrible to say. I mean, I don't love mosquitoes, but I feel like they're I can never remember. Like they're a keystone species, and when you don't have them, things that eat them don't do well. Like bats, dragonflies, those sorts of things. So I get worried when I don't see mosquitoes. Seems like I'm like, oh, I don't love them, but I'm glad they're not here. But I'm like, what's that going to do? So anyway, so that's what's going on personally. So I got, we can talk about what I've got going on writing wise. So I just finished a short story called Lost Little Souls. That is going to be included in the Bizman Writers Guild anthology coming up. And there's no romance in it. So I'm actually debating writing it under a pseudonym. So I've got the pseudonym picked out. I don't want to say it because nobody else has it. And so when I write under it, I'll put it out there, but might tell you next month. But yeah, I'm actually thinking of doing it. And then I'm like, do I want to manage another pseudonym, or maybe I just manage it under my Tina Holland website, since there are not that many, since there aren't that many books by this new pseudonym. So that's what's going on. What I finished publishing or is out with editors and whatnot. I am working on the second novel this month. I might get it done this month because I've got a lot of time. The second novel in my Regency series, and I'm kind of toying with the title right now. It is currently How to Love a Lord, but there's two Love a Lord. There's like there's another title by Christy Caldwell with that name. And so I was like, I might change it. We'll see. Okay. So now the reason you guys are all here, which is we're going to talk about leveling up. And I kind of decided to do this. Normally in April, I will do the tax, death and taxes, but I've done that 2 years in a row. So you could go back to last year and look at that if you wanted to. So I thought I would talk about leveling up. I had a conversation earlier with my friend A. Catherine Noon about how I was going to level up my game this year. And so I'll talk about what that means to me. It might be different for you, but I'll talk about what it means to me and the things that I am doing to level up. So, but basically I want to take my career to the next level. So And for me, that isn't always selling more books. It's actually finding more readers. That's what I think of when I want more discoverability. I want people to find me, to read my books and to like them. And that doesn't necessarily mean more sales. Like if I tend to have a lot of readers in the library systems. So I do get paid for that, but not as much as maybe if I sold a bunch of them through Barnes and Noble or Amazon or whatever. So we're going to talk about leveling up, and I am going to share, I'm going to present here and share my screen. This one, I think. Oh, let me fix this. Let me fix this really quick so it's in presentation mode. Do you hate it when you can't just find stuff easy? Mhm. This is what I get to because I made it like right before. Okay, there we go. Let's go. There used to be like this little button where you just press it. Oh, there we go. I found it. I found it after I. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So, yep, I'm sharing. Okay. So this is it's a very simple slide presentation. So I thought I would just go through it. And of course, I made an acronym, news. So the first thing that I'm doing this year is I'm doing some networking, and I'm going to be going to some conferences. Actually, only one. I usually network with readers at local conferences. CoreCon and ValleyCon are two that I usually will meet with readers. This year, I was trying to get into Romance Author Mastermind, but the personal filled up. That's usually in Texas. It's hosted by Sky Warren, and I didn't get into the in-person one. So I could get into the online one, but I really do want to meet people and talk to people because that's the best way I learn. And so what I'm doing is I think I'm going to go to Author Nation. So I'll make that decision in May whether I go there or not, because a little more affordable too than Romance Author Mastermind. I know it's a different format. It used to be 20 books to 50K conference in Vegas, and it's a little different this year. So I've been watching some stuff and checking out the tracks, and it's in Las Vegas. I have a writer friend who lives down there. So maybe I can meet up with her for some of the less exciting sessions or whatever. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to possibly go to that. The other thing for networking and these are ways you can level up no matter where you are. So if you're just starting out, these are ways that you can level up. Another thing would be to join writers groups. I am a writing group slut. I'm in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm in 5 actively, where I actively participate in them. And those are Word Weavers, my critique group, Bizman Writers Guild, Moorhead Friends Writing Group, Writers Zen Garden, and then also Romance Writing Group. So, and I have found each of them do different things. So the critique group, Word Weavers, is obviously where we critique each other's work. My friends Maddie Barone is in there, as well as M.A. Depp. They're both published authors. So that's been really nice having those people look at my work. And Maddie and I both write in the same genre of romance. So we actually also have, I'm going to put a thing up on Double Trouble Tuesday where we actually had the same cover model on our thing. And it's weird how similar yet different those books are. So I thought that might be interesting to spotlight on Double Trouble Tuesday on my thing. So I apologize. My nose is running too. So I'm kind of wiping it. So I apologize for that. But so yeah, writing groups can be pretty valuable. So that's Word Weavers, Bizman Writers Guild. I'm the secretary for them. Yeah, I'm the secretary for them. So I help them put together anthologies and stuff like that. And my friend Justin Cancelier used to be in charge of that group. He's kind of moved on since then, but I'm still pretty active in that group. Morehead Friends Writing Group does, they have speakers come in once a month and talk about their artist author journey. And then also we do a lot of trade shows and book signings and stuff like that. So that's been really nice. Writers and Garden is, I'm in a partnership with a Catherine Noon, and she is one of the founding members of that group. And we're going to be doing more stuff on Patreon, and then also basically doing classes and things like that. So I'll do most of my teaching stuff will move over to Writers and Garden, and I will probably teach. And as a matter of fact, they're sponsoring this video, so thank you to them. And then the last group that I'm in is called Romance Writers Club, and they do like daily sprints. And so I'll go over there and I'll do writing sprints and stuff like that. And I have found that extremely helpful. So the next thing after the N, networking, is education. Now you can do education at like conferences and stuff like that, but I'm thinking more around classes, books, watching documentaries on TV if you're writing something historical, or maybe you're writing about octopus shifters or something, so you want to learn a little bit more. So just leveling up that way in the form of education. There are a lot of online classes too that you can take. I've just recently taken Sarah Cannon's HB90, and which is kind of a planner sort of class. And then I also just finished her Publish and Thrive course, which I really wish I had taken that years ago, because I learned so much. And so there's a bunch of classes like that online, where you can go ahead and learn more about education. A lot of times your local library will be offering classes on education, and sometimes this falls into, do they have speakers? Like a lot of libraries are having speakers now, like author speakers come in, or people. I just got an email too about gardening. So if I was writing a character that was a gardener and I wanted to go to a class, that would be good. I took a class through North Dakota Humanities. I cannot remember the instructor's name. She actually lives in Washington, but it was about other writers besides Regency writers besides Jane Austen, like what other female writers. And she's doing a second course right now, which is on Victorian authors. So I took that course just to learn a little more, and it was free through North Dakota Humanities. So that isn't always the case, but there are a lot of writing groups where you can access classes and stuff like that for free. Obviously, there's books, like if you need to learn how to do character stuff. I probably got a bunch of books up here. I've got Create a Story, An Idiot's Guide to Publishing. A lot of them are older, because I've noticed now too, a lot more stuff is online versus in print. Save the Cat Writes a Novel. The other thing that you might do is look at YouTube videos. There's a bunch of writers out there that do like stuff like this, where they're just talking about leveling up. Like I've seen Bethany Abizadeh does one on formatting. Sarah Cannon does a bunch of stuff for free on her YouTube channel, the Heart Breathings one. And so you can learn like crafting and character development and those sorts of things. So I think education is always important, and it depends on, once again, where are you in your career? Are you unpublished? Are you published? Are you writing short stories, but you want to move into novels? There's ways to just find stuff. And yeah, the internet can be both good and bad, but it's always a good starting point too. And then you can decide if you want to pay for those things going forward. Writing, obviously, if you're going to write, then you want to level up, like you want to put out more words. So I do this there's an annual 2 retreats that I do. And there's a founders group retreat, which is part of Writers and Garden. And then every year in March, Writers and Garden hosts a free online retreat called the Springing Forward Retreat. And that one is, it's more a craft oriented. We've never done anything as far as like the publishing part, but it's learning about craft. And then also some self-care stuff is involved in it as well in that particular one, because we have more than just writers that come to that. And then write-ins, if that is of beneficial to you. So I do 2 write-ins. I'm part of Romance Writers Club, and then also Writers and Garden hosts We call it a creative commute every Monday for 45 minutes, and all we do is write. So if that's something you're interested, you can message me privately, either Facebook or down below in the comments section, and I will gladly send you that information. But I have found that that is extremely beneficial and for me to get words on the page. And I don't always write on my novels or short stories. Sometimes I will work on business emails. Sometimes I will work, some people work knit. I've seen people knit on there. So they'll work on crafts or whatever. Maybe they're thinking about stories. So, but when I do sit down and write, it's 45 minutes. It's 15-minute sprints with like a 1 minute break in between. So it's kind of intense for a writing time, but a lot of people get stuff done. I think when I did, I write like a word a minute basically when I'm writing. And that's not my typing speed, but a word a minute. I think I'm like it's 40 to 60, depending on what I'm writing. Like if I'm doing transcription, like I wrote in a notebook, then, and I'm putting it into the laptop, then it's usually about 40 to 60 words, depending on whatever. So it tends to be 40 because I got short hands. So if I got a lot of P's and stuff where I got to go off off the standard keyboard, then there's not as much space. But I have found the write-ins very helpful in just getting stuff on the page. Sometimes I do my morning pages during that time. So if you wanted to level up going participating in write-ins, and they do it in-person ones during the nano months. Like right now, April is on Camp Nano. So your local library, bookstore, those there may be write-in groups that you could just go and sit in. And there's something about the energy of writing in a group, even if it's online, that you just tend to, for me anyway, you tend to get more words out. So I would recommend those if you're looking to kind of level up in the sense like I want to produce more so that I can make more. That isn't always the case, but if you're just looking to get more writing time in as part of your leveling up, those are retreats. There's a bunch of retreats like in person, online, those types of things too, where you can really go ahead and write. So, and then the last one, it isn't really it isn't really, I probably should have named, I might rename this sustainability. But one of the things that I think that you need to focus on too when you go to level up is to not take too much on. So know how much you can take on and then take breaks from stuff. Like right now, I'm working on a novel. When I get done with this novel, hopefully this month, we'll see. But I think the rough draft will be done by the end of April because I'm moving through it faster. I'm going ahead and rewriting it because I'm kind of changing the starting point. And I had stuff from the previous novel in this one, like scenes, but from these characters' point of view. And I don't think that's working. I'm like, that's already happened for readers that read the first book. So let's not put that in there. So I'm having to rewrite some stuff. So, but it's going pretty good. And but I do need to take breaks. Like I think my next book is at 15,000 words, and I think I'm going to have a day of reading. So I do like this little reward system. If you look back here on my Kanban board, there's like these pink ones like right here on the far edge. Then they kind of are like when I hit a thing, I get a thing. And so a lot of that will involve self-care so that I'm kind of taking a breather from the manuscript. If you are totally in the zone and getting stuff done, by all means do that. But when you're blocked, take a break. Go ahead and read, watch TV, play video games, play board games. Take yourself on an artist date. You know, you've been meaning to go to that knitting store that you haven't checked out yet. I say that because I know a lot of writers that are knitters or fiber artists of some sort, and you've been meaning to check out that yarn store and you just haven't gotten there. Take yourself on an artist date and go ahead and explore. And then take time to refill your well. However, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about making it sustainable for you to go ahead and say, to keep going on whatever projects you've got, whether they are short stories, not whatever you write, and take a breather. The other thing that I've done is between my novels, I've started writing short stories the last 2 years, which was huge because I was blocked on a lot of my novels. I didn't know where I was going with them. And so writing short stories, which I had always written short before, but we're talking about 10,000, less than 10,000 words. I have found that that's a pretty good palate cleanser for me. Like I can get words out, but um, I'm not necessarily focused on this huge novel. I can write maybe a story in a couple weeks. So, which is very nice. And then I can kind of take a break. So I get to explore a new world or maybe the same world if I'm writing a series of short stories. So, but I find that very nice to have that break between novels. So I think whatever it is that will keep you sustainable, I am going to change that. It should be sustainability instead of self care. I'm going to change this on this slide. So, but I think that that's a good thing is to go ahead and you want to make this career as sustainable as possible. And that's another part of leveling up. Like, how can I take what I'm doing today, replicate it, and keep going? Like, what is the best way for me to do that? One of the things I learned this a long time ago is I will not write in the summer months. I don't write in the month of December either because there's a lot of stuff going on with the holidays and everything. Although I do get some words out, but I don't push myself, and I won't push myself in the summer either because part of it is those are our working months. And then the other thing is if I'm not working, we're at the lakes and I want to enjoy time at the lakes, though I do get writing done when I'm down there, but not like 1,000 word days, which are huge for me. I've been doing a lot of that's why writing has been going so good. I've been getting a lot of 1,000 word days. I have like the sticker system right now. I'm on these little baby Dumbo stickers. And so I get a sticker every time I do 1,000 words. And I've had a couple 2,000 word days just because stuff has been flowing. And part of it is, I think, too, that I'm not going all out on the manuscript. And if it's not coming easily, I shift. I either write a different scene or I'm just like, okay, we're going to not do that today. We're going to do other things and then move on from that. And that was a thing too that I'd learned in the Sarah Cannon class was kind of like, how do things feel? How are things working? And how do you, there's some hints and stuff in there. How do you make this career sustainable? And so to me, it's more about sustainability and gaining readers over time versus like making a ton of money now, because I do feel like writing is it's more of a marathon, you know? And you don't have to, I don't think you have to put out a ton of work. Like if you want to write a book a year, there's nothing wrong with that. There's authors that do it pretty successfully. One of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head is Joanna Pan. She's considers herself a writer. I think there is a lot of people that are out there and they're like saying, oh, you've got to publish. Well, you've got to do rapid release. And that works for certain people if you can do it. But and if you're in Kindle Unlimited, it works. I think it still might be the best way to make money in Kindle Unlimited. If you're wide and you can't write 3 books a year or 4 books a year or whatever, if you can't do that, why are you doing it? If it is to make money, you can probably make the same amount or more doing short stories or novellas or, you know, either shortening up the word length or taking time. Because the other thing is when you burn out, even if you're like currently doing, like I'm probably doing 1.5 books a year, but I do those short stories between. So I've got maybe 3 or 4 projects that I'm doing a year, but only 2 of them are novels. And I find that if I just slow down and I do those little projects between, I still have my name getting out there, although that won't be the case if I write under this pseudonym, right? But I'm still getting my name out there. So there's still work for my readers to read. I will also take a lot of those short stories and make them individual stories and sell them for like 99 cents on Amazon and Barnes and Noble or wherever you buy stuff. And I found that that's helpful too if people didn't want to buy the anthology. So I think that there's value though in taking the time to know how much work you can put out, how sustainable is that as a career, and then just kind of sticking with it, you know. I'm very much a routine person, so that's the other thing is while my husband's gone this next week, I'll probably be getting up at the same time. I'll be going to bed at the same time. I'll be um, sitting at my desk working on things at the same time, and I like that repetition because it makes it easier for me and my body is kind of like, okay, it's time to get up. Okay, it's time to take an afternoon nap. I don't always take naps. Sometimes I do, but it's time to meditate. It's time to take your dogs for the walk. It's time to do these things. And And that kind of helps. And that's the other thing is I do tend to get writing done in the summertime because our work is very routine. Like when we're out at the airport, I know I have to get up at this time, we're having breakfast at this time, and we're starting to work at this time. And so those things are very easy for me to go ahead and navigate and say, okay, I've got 15 minutes. I tend to handwrite a lot of stuff too, because if I can't work on a computer, if I can handwrite it because it feels like it's flowing better, that's what I'll do, and I'll transcribe it later. So these are just my tips. There are a gazillion other ways you could level up your game. But when we're talking about leveling up, we're not necessarily talking about more sales. We're talking about a better career for you. How does that look? Is in my case, it's more readers. In your case, it might be getting your first book published or your second book published. And so how do you level up? So I think that you level up through networking, education, writing, and sustainability. And that's what I think. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'll check and see if we have any questions. We probably don't because we didn't do any advertising, right? So um, there are no more questions. So let me do this. And our next First Friday lunch is going to be May 3rd at 11:30 a.m. So go ahead and pencil me in for lunch.